So, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening, good night, wherever you may be in the world. We're just about to start some foot massage. So, again, I'm just doing the voiceover after the treatment because, yeah, we've got my daughter there and there's different conversations going on that are private. So, Cori, my wife, is working on my feet. So, obviously, a bit of a disclaimer there right away. A lot of people like to comment on the dirty feet situation. Well, it's very dusty here. I've got very cracked heels, which I already actually did try and shave back a bit before this treatment. So my apologies for those people who get extremely upset about a little bit of dirt. But in Queensland, where we live, most people are living on farms and that sort of thing. So we're not really city people right now. And it's very hard to get your feet completely clean. As you all know, I was going to have a separate career as a foot model. But I decided to become a naturopath and massage therapist instead. So normally we would actually have a towel or a sheet between the foot of the person working and the foot of the person receiving the massage. But in this case, we're not, just because it's easier for us to show you what we're doing here. So Cori's basically using the balls of her feet, the arches of her feet, to get in a lot deeper pressure on my foot than normally you can with your fingers, because you can use gravity here. It's very important to have padding under the front of the foot. So I'm lying on a mat, which I'll put a link to, a nice firm mat, and then I've got some extra towels for support under my foot, so the front of my foot isn't being pushed into the ground. You never want to be walking on somebody's foot with a concrete or wooden floor below it, because the front of your feet will get crushed and the bones will hurt. Okay, so padding under the front of the foot is very important. And you can see Cori's changing her position at various times and keeping my foot straight. I have a tendency for my feet to go outward. Had that ever since I was a child, actually. Cori calls it a penguin pose. You can see here she's working me up to my threshold, and because my feet are very tight from doing a lot of lawn mowing and gardening and that sort of thing, just need to stretch them out a little bit. And there she's getting even more padding under the front of my ankles. Again, keeping my foot straight. And then using her heel now to get even deeper and heavier pressure. So using your feet is not as specific as using something like a chopstick or even a Thai massage tool. But the pressure you can get is heavy and strong, and it really loosens up in a general area rather than specific. Increases the blood supply to the area as well. You can see here she's getting into that bottom little toe band. So you can still work bands. Getting into the heel. The heel is a place you can go really hard. Most people can handle very heavy pressure on their heel. And here she's getting right in there. That feels really good. You can imagine how difficult that would be to get pressure with, your hands on there. Plus, it would kill your hands. It would mean that your hands would be extremely tired. And for a massage therapist, working on the feet in particular is one way to really make your hands tight and not be able to survive in the profession for a long period of time. So these techniques are fantastic. I always remember the treatment I did on Tim, which was a few years ago now. But he had feet like concrete, and there was no way I was going to be able to loosen his feet with just my hands. And it took a lot of walking on. In fact, I was even using all my weight, which back then was 140 kilos. I'm down to 111 now. But I had to twist my foot to get even more pressure on his foot to release it. And that was profound because the feet are so important. They're the basis of so much of our tension, and they're obviously our connection with the earth and grounding. And so much of reflexology is about the feet. It can be about the hands as well, but the feet, we're in constant, they're constantly holding our body weight. And we're walking on them, using them to push an accelerator in a car, driving, bicycle riding, whatever it may be, but our feet are often used for these, and in this case, Cori's using her feet to massage as well. So feet can hold an awful lot of tension, and they not only hold tension in the feet and make your feet tight and sore, but they're the anchor points for tension coming up these bands that I talk about in the legs and right up into the hips and into the back as well. So this is a great way to just loosen up your feet in a general sense. So it works well in combination with the specific work that we do on the toes. So when we're walking on the feet, we really don't walk on the toes themselves. Okay, so this is more for a broad thing on the arch of the foot, the heel, and the ball of the foot, and the side of the foot. So Cori's using both her feet now just to get right in there and kind of flatten out my foot. In terms of the intensity, most of it was about an 8 or 9 out of 10 because my feet are tight. Moves like that obviously were less intense, but still getting in there. So you can use your toes to get really specific. You can use the ball of your foot, and you can use your heel, and you can use the outside edge of your foot to achieve different types of pressure when you're walking on the hands and feet. You can see the flexibility in her foot's very good, so she's just able to get right in there. This was done yesterday, so I'm just doing the voiceover the next day, and I feel my feet and legs feel really good. So as you come up, you want to decrease your pressure. This is quite a sensitive area, and higher up in the calf is even more sensitive. But you have to have a good feel for what you're doing with these kinds of moves, and obviously not go too hard. Make sure you got that feel for what sort of pressure the person needs before you go in, especially in the calf. But yeah, it feels great just to loosen up. So calves are an interesting area. Again, early on in my career, I learned not to go too hard in the calves because it's easy to cause what we call bad pain. Where your bad pain is where you're working something and it's painful, but it's not releasing. So much of the origins of the tension in the calves are in the foot, so we have to release them first, then we can get into the calf and release the tension there. But it's an easy area for beginners to, overwork. And some people get carried away with this whole idea, no pain, no gain. I don't like that saying unless we say no good pain, no gain. And what good pain is when we're accessing tension and we're actually releasing it. So here's what Cori's doing, is just holding and allowing that blood flow to come in and allowing the chi or the life force to open up through that area. So similar to Shiatsu and Thai massage, a lot of holding of points. When I learned Shiatsu, we often were taught with one of the teachers I taught was taught by go in for 3 seconds, hold for 3, come out for 3, and on certain points it would be 3:23. So he often used to say Westerners work way too fast. So the Japanese are very good in their understanding of the flow of chi, and with Shiatsu of holding a point and working it slowly but surely, and that's especially true with Zen Shiatsu. I'll turn up the volume in case you're not hearing me clearly. So Cori's just kind of working that calf and the bottom of the calf, and just proceeding upward, working just below my threshold, where I can still breathe in. So I'm doing some deep breathing and just letting go of that tension. So here we've changed position slightly, changed the camera angle, turn on the lights, and my leg is now more with the side facing up. So Cori's able to get into the outer little toe band or the side leg band, and I've had a lot of tension in that area on both legs. In fact, the other one's even tighter. But she's then working more with the ball of her foot up this area, which can be quite sensitive, but feels very good. Stretching the toes, stretching the foot. Getting into that area around the ankle bone itself. So you can actually do quite a certain amount of detailed work with your toes as well, which we're going to see in a minute. Here you can see she's using her big toe to get into the band that goes right around that ankle, which is the outer little toe band or side leg band. My daughter's just in the background here, as she is. Cori's really stretching the outer part of my foot out. This feels really good. Again, you can see the detail that she's using with her toes to massage now. It's just kind of like your fingers, but again, you've got gravity on your side. And she's getting into the upper little toe band, which comes in front of the ankle there. And originates in the tip of the little toe and the inner side of the little toe, so between the little toe and the next toe along. And then as we come through here, she's getting more broad pressure as the band becomes bigger. And she's using her body weight and gravity. You can see she's shifting her weight from one leg to the other to get the pressure. This is how, again, you save wear and tear on your own body. This area, interestingly enough, as you get up here, can be quite sensitive. Certainly was on me. So when I'm receiving the massage, I'm trying to breathe in, like a deep breath, and just taking an outward breath and letting go of any tension. So she's basically accessing my tension. I'm breathing in and letting it go. She's using that chair back there for balance, especially when she's getting in deeper. She just wants to have that support. Again, it's difficult to work this area because it can require a lot of pressure. If I'm working on some people and I'm not using my feet, I'm going to be using my elbows.
I made a heart for you.
Oh, you made a heart for me. Thank you.
Don't break it.
I won't break it. I don't like breaking hearts. Daughter just made me a little heart and said not to break it, so.
No, that's your paper.
So again, just working through there. And you can see it softening. I could feel it. I feel it today. I feel nice and loose. My legs. Especially this one. She got more time to work on this one before we had to finish up. As I say, throughout the treatment, I'm just breathing into where she's working. Like that, and just like letting go of the tension. So it's interesting, what creates tension. There's a whole, talk we could give about that, which is very interesting. What is tension? From my perspective, I look at it as something of a more subtle nature, like a gas. Just as air can become tight in a tire, so can these more subtle energies, like a gas or something of that nature, become tight in our body, and so we then breathe them out. Like we breathe out other gases through our deep breathing. But within that tension can also be more some more physical elements too, which we would then, when they're released from that tense state, come into our bloodstream, and then we would urinate them out. So it's very interesting, the combination too of tension and toxins that many people hold, which is what causes what we call a healing crisis, where people feel a lot of these toxins are released that were stored in the tension, and they come into the bloodstream. They can go into the brain or into the digestive system and cause a healing crisis where a person feels nauseous or headachy. That's why we encourage drinking plenty of water. That helps dilute these toxins. But it is very fascinating as to why a person becomes tight, and then what happens during that loosening up process. Different reasons can cause tightness too. Different things. Physical, like for me, it can be like lawn mowing and pushing a lawnmower up a hill with heavy grass, or wheelbarrowing. But in other people's cases, it could be other things, of course, physical reasons. It can be emotional. It causes tension. Often when we're emotionally stressed, we don't breathe deeply, or we're frustrated. For me lately, it's been obviously a lot of this frustration of dealing with government agencies that are less than professional in their way of dealing with people in Australia, causing a lot of stress, emotional stress, that sort of thing. So that can manifest as tension in the body. So that can actually be released as the massage comes, and different emotions can come out of people. And if you watch some of the more intense ones on ours, like when Bronson was working on one of his students and she was having quite a full-on release, or me working on John or Peter, two different Johns actually, they're having very intense releases. Rebecca in the London Advanced course there, she had a full-on release too. These can be emotional, or they could be even deeper than that. We talk about some of the things I've seen have been where people have almost another entity in them, which is quite controversial, of course. But if you look at the one Bronson working on one of his students there, you can comment on it, or me working on Peter or John. Anyway, it's a whole other topic, but why people get tight is very interesting. And we've got to look at the difference between the living body and the dead body, because dead bodies obviously become tight very quickly when there's no chi or life force to circulate, and the heart's not pumping the blood. So we can never loosen up a dead body, but we can always loosen up a living body. So Cori's again just working deeper into this tightness that I've got in the side of my leg. Here she's holding with her right foot, she's keeping my foot stretched out, so that the band is more protruding and closer to the surface. And then with her left foot, she's using that pressure to roll over it. And then in combination with that, I'm doing deep breathing, which you can't necessarily hear. But she also got a click out of my toe at that stage, which was really nice. This is really nice, intense. I remember the feeling that's very intense, but it was very effective. Getting rid of, you can see there I'm flinching a little bit. She just found a very tight spot just through there. So that's the end of the part one of this. Now I'm just going to change positions for part two and work into my thigh, which is a lot more sensitive. But yeah, I cut out a bit of the audio where I was screaming. Not screaming, but going, ah. But that's what I was doing because it was up at about a 9.